How about this? You knew at some point things were going to get interesting for the Philadelphia Eagles on day 3 of the NFL draft here, and they certainly have. The Eagles are drafting Kyle McCord, quarterback out of Syracuse, who transferred to Syracuse from Ohio State after he got replaced by Will Howard. And this is a really interesting selection by the Eagles with the 181st pick in the 6th round for a multitude of reasons. Kyle McCord, as many people know in the Philadelphia area, does have some Philly ties. He played his high school ball at St. Joe's Prep, and he grew up in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And the Eagles quarterback room is in a really good spot. And there's no reason to overreact to this, but the Eagles have deemed themselves a quarterback factory, and they have developed quarterbacks really well. And they have had to see a lot of backups play in huge games really my entire lifetime, from the early 2000s onward, whether it was A.J. Feely or Coy Detmer, Jeff Garcia, Michael Vick, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. Even this past year when Jalen Hurts got hurt after he suffered that concussion against Washington, Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee had to step in. And Hurts is a superstar right now. It's one of the faces of the league. Time Magazine naming him one of the most 100 influential people in the world. Swagger, confidence, cool, calm, and collected. A big game baller, dual threat player, unique skill set, ultimate team leader. Somebody who you want your kids to look at as a role model. Perfect face of the franchise. And he just won Super Bowl MVP. And earlier this offseason, the Eagles did trade away Kenny Pickett for Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 5th-round pick. And so DTR is on this team. But the Eagles are also extremely high on Tanner McKee, who has been so impressive when he's gotten time in the preseason. And then we saw what he could do in game action last year. He's big. He throws with unbelievable anticipation, timing, and accuracy. Sees the field very well, makes quick decisions. But Tanner McKee is going into year 3. And I think that he could be a starter at some point in this league and maybe a trade chip for Philadelphia. So the Eagles, I think, in drafting Kyle McCord are certainly looking ahead to the future. They've called themselves a quarterback factory. They've always been willing to invest in that position. And they're investing a 6th-round pick for a team that doesn't have a lot of needs on a quarterback with a lot of promise. And no cap, Kyle McCord is a quarterback in this class who I think when it's all said and done, and I've said this in the lead up to the draft, he could be one of the top quarterbacks in this 2025 class. He has good arm strength. He puts the ball in a good spot for his wide receivers. He can throw and complete passes at any level of the field. I like his size at 6'3", well over 200 pounds. He is a little bit of a statue in the pocket. He's not going to make plays out of structure. He does process pretty well, though. And he played awesome in 2024 for Syracuse after he transferred from Ohio State with less talent around him compared to when he was with the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I think at Ohio State, he lost his confidence a little bit. And that's why Ohio State wanted to move on. Ryan Day opted for Will Howard over Kyle McCord. But he went to Syracuse, and it was interesting. With less talent, he balled out. He led the country in passing yards, throwing for nearly 4,800 yards. And he set pretty much every single season record in that Syracuse program, edging former Eagle Donovan McNabb. Completed 66% of his passes, 37 total touchdowns. He does have a gunslinger mentality, and so sometimes he will put the ball in harm's way. 12 interceptions, but 0 fumbles. So good ball security when he's within the pocket. And I think what the Eagles also like in value here, Kyle McCord is a winner. 22-4 record as a starter. 12-1 at Ohio State. 10-3 at Syracuse. Pre-snap processing. He can decipher very well. He throws with pretty good anticipation. He's not afraid back there to test the defense and test his arm strength and press the defense with some throws. He throws with good velocity, not great. Add some arc and touch when needed. I like his poise within the pocket, but outside of the pocket, as I said, he's not really going to run around and make plays improvisationally. He's also a tough dude. And at St. Joe's Prep, pretty cool story here when he went to the legendary high school in Philadelphia. Played alongside Marvin Harrison. And Marvin Harrison said about him that he prepares better than anybody else. And after Ohio State kind of disrespected him a little bit, he goes to Syracuse, and under Fran Brown, a former Temple assistant, they won right away. They were a really competitive team. And that Syracuse program absolutely loved him. So there's no rush for him to play. The Eagles are investing in the most important position in football, and he has an opportunity to compete with DTR to be QB3. And him and DTR are much different players, vastly different styles. But I personally like Kyle McCord because I think he's a better thrower. DTR is more dual threat, better runner. Kyle McCord can't really run. But as far as throwing the football, as far as having size, putting up numbers, 6'3", 218, I like this pick for the Eagles because you can never stop investing in important positions. So your one-word reaction to the Eagles selecting Kyle McCord, what I'll say, Howie, but it's also Jeffrey Lurie because they always put an emphasis on this position. We have a few more picks to talk about for the Eagles because we're combining a lot of selections here. The Eagles have drafted a center whose dad played in the NFL. They also drafted a linebacker out of Georgia. That's coming up here just around the corner. But first, our sponsor for today's Philadelphia Eagles now, our wonderful friends at Chubby's. At the end of the day, your wardrobe deserves a springtime upgrade. We have a great deal for all of you. For a limited time only, Chubby's is giving our listeners, our viewers, 20% off your order with our exclusive code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com/chat. Look, fellas, April is here. This ain't the time for fooling around. It's time to let those thighs breathe. Whether you're playing around at golf with the fellas, hitting up a beer garden, or visiting an actual garden, Chubby's has you covered for all of the good vibes that warm weather brings. If you want some bright polos that demand attention, check. Killer shorts, they got you. Hitting up a pool or the beach, Chubby's has great swimsuits as well. The Classic Line Swim Collection has your new favorite trunk for the sunny days. For everything non-water related, their original shorts provide that classic look with a fresh vibe. They also have some stretch everyday wear with some flexibility to give you some movement as well. So one more time, live good vibrations. Head to chubbyshorts.com/chat. Use the code CHAT for 20% off. Of course, they have some of the vibrant and loud tops, but if you just want a standard shirt or a polo, Chubby's has that as well, and you always have to love their logo. Next up, for the Philadelphia Eagles here, they of course had to tap into the Georgia well, and they are drafting a linebacker who was a former highly touted recruit coming out of high school in Smael Mondon Jr. He does have some injury concerns, and he's missed some time throughout his Georgia career. He's not the fastest player, but at 6'2", 224 at that linebacker spot, the speed is good enough. He does have a large wingspan at 80 1/8 inches. And so, long-armed athlete who's lean, defined muscle tone. He hails from Dallas, Georgia. In 2024, 57 tackles, 4 TFLs, 3 sacks. And he really is a good all-around athlete with good closing speed. He will bring Philadelphia some special teams value with plenty of punt coverage reps. He is not the best prospect dropping back in coverage, but at the very least, I do think that he can help the Eagles on special teams right away. He was a good on-field leader for Georgia. In 2022, he led the team in tackles but missed 2 games with an ankle injury. In 2023, second-team All-SEC player, did miss a bowl game because of a left foot injury. And then in 2024, he missed 4 games as well with a foot injury. So the durability concerns, a big reason why he slid. And here's what the Athletics' Dane Brugler had to say in his scouting write-up about Smael Mondon. Needs to see things a half a beat faster to reach his full potential, but the athletic range and toughness give him upside as a 4-down NFL linebacker. So his health could be a main concern, and that keeps him from becoming an NFL starter. But what's telling from Brugler there is that Mondon has an opportunity to, at some point maybe, become a 4-down linebacker. He likes to be coached hard. Georgia players and coaches really liked his character. I wouldn't say he's a thumper, but he does play downhill. Really the biggest concerns for him, dropping back into coverage and the lack of size. But it's yet another Georgia player making his way to the city of Philadelphia. And then the Eagles also went back into the trenches, and they continue to stock up there. In round 5, pick number 168, the Eagles taking Drew Kendall, center out of Boston College. His dad played in the NFL. Now, the Eagles did list him as a center and a guard. But when he was in Boston College, or at Boston College, and in college, I should say, he only played center. He was an all-SEC player. He was a team captain. And at this point, when the Eagles draft offensive linemen, you're just banking on them being able to develop under the best offensive line coach in the NFL in Jeff Stoutland. And you think about that Patriots dynastic era with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, one of the reasons why they were so dominant, they had Dante Scarnecchia, who up there with Jeff Stoutland as 2 of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. Offensive line coaching, offensive line development, and offensive line talent, being able to have good players as starters, but being able to have good depth pieces. And just bringing those players along is so, so important. You look at a team like the San Francisco 49ers, they don't value the offensive line. They don't really invest in it. It couldn't be more of an opposite plan and strategy for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's how I build my football teams. That's how I would prioritize it if I was putting together a roster. Kendall is a heady football player, good IQ, good in pass protection, didn't give up too many sacks last year, only 1, moves well in a zone blocking setup, and he does have positional flexibility, but the thing is, 0 career non-center snaps. His Pro Football Focus grades in 2024 for Bill O'Brien's Boston College program, 78.8 on the overall, pass blocking grade of 81.5, run blocking grade of 75.9, and he was steady. He was consistent. Only gave up 1 sack. Moves pretty well, ran a 5.05, 40-yard dash. Here's Brugler on Kendall too. Might not be a mauler, but he works hard to stay attached using his athletic body control and instinctive technique, which help him finish the mission. He offers NFL starting upside in his own blocking scheme. And so with Mondon and with Kendall, the Eagles are taking 2 players who evaluators think at some point, yeah, they can become starters. I like Kendall's fluidity. I imagine the Eagles like that as well. He's been very durable. Started 37 games the past 3 years, including 31 straight to finish his career. And he came up under the tutelage of a dad who was also an NFL offensive lineman. It's definitely an interesting draft class for the Eagles. They take Jahad Campbell, who was a top 10 player on their board. What are their plans for him? Is he going to be an edge linebacker? I'd like to see him do both. I thought it was a little bit of a reach to take Andrew Makuba out of Texas. a very C.J. Gardner-Johnson type of player with what he does on the field, the versatility, the game, but also the lack of size. But he does play physical and fast for his size. He's a 4'4" guy. Ty Robinson is 6'5", almost 290 pounds. He ran a sub-4.9 40-yard dash. He could help replace Milton Williams. Mac McWilliams is another undersized DB like Makuba. Eagles did not bring him in on a pre-draft visit, and he too has some injury concerns. Smael Mondon, Georgia Pipeline. The ability is there, and I believe he was a former 5-star recruit going to Georgia, but again, injuries for him. Drew Kendall, very durable, and then in round 6, 181, a potential backup quarterback and a local native, a Kyle McCord, who grew up in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and went to St. Joe's Prep and played there alongside Marvin Harrison, and they both went to Ohio State before McCord went to Syracuse and straight up was able to sling it, chucking the rock and balling out in 2024 under Fran Brown. Grade the Eagles draft so far. A, B, C, D, or F. I'm going to go somewhere in that B range as of right now. We'll see what they do with their remaining picks. Be on the lookout here on the show because we will be doing draft grades for all 7 rounds once the draft wraps up.